Hey, Judah and Armand.
Hey, Riggs.
I ain't talking about you, I ain't talking about me. In the world, cause we really wasn't living. Wasn't washing the blood of the lamb, ain't died in the spirit. Now I'm talking about living. You say you love the Lord, ain't got it by the law. Then you lying, you ain't talking about living. Dropped down from a man, raised up to a king. We applied, now we finally started living. It's been a long time coming since the Bible started busting. We ain't understand nothing. We was walking around blind, being guided by the government. The Holy Ghost told us we the children of the covenants. Hey, all praises to the Most High. That He was raising up the prophets at the same time, and I was able to receive it when I passed by the doctor.
First of all praise to the Most High and to His Son Jesus Christ for giving us the opportunity to be alive in this day where we can come together again in fellowship. I specifically like to always acknowledge the Most High and His Son Jesus Christ for having the mercy on us to allow us to live another day, because all actions in this earth are by Him. The mere fact that we are alive, that we are able, that we are able bodies is all because of the Most High. Everything that's happening on this planet Earth is by the divine intervention and control of the Lord, okay? Our birth, when we were born into this earth, that was a decision that was made in the heavens that said it was time for you to be here. So every day of our lives is accounted for. Every minute of our lives is accounted for. And that's something that I've been giving a lot of thought over lately. You know, each day that passes by is another chance to fulfill the duties that your Father, the Most High, have given us. So we are not in the business of squandering and wasting the time that the Lord has given unto us. Okay, there's a purpose for why the Lord chose you as opposed to somebody else. I want to go over a class today, and this class is not particularly pointed to any particular congregation or anything, because I think we all struggle with this topic all throughout IUIC. And so I'm going to put it out in a collective sense because we all deal with this in one form or another. So the name of today's class is Slothfulness and Excuses, and Why. Slothfulness and Excuses, and Why. The why part means, why is there slothfulness and excuses when it comes to us doing what the Most High has set up for us to do? Okay? So I want to start off because I know that we have mainly like the upper ranks in here, like what, 50s, 20s, 10 soldiers. So I kind of want to just put a feeler gauge out there around the room and ask these questions. I want to kind of make this interactive. What causes slothfulness? What causes, y'all pick, let me see. What causes slothfulness?
Shalom, leadership. Sin. When you're not focused on the mission, you focused on something else.
Okay, that's good. When you're not focused on the mission and you're not focused on something else. Remember that answer. Somebody else. Okay.
Shalom, leadership.
Shalom.
Soldier Lamech.
Soldier Lamech. Or Soldier Lamech, gotcha.
Correct. Fear and doubt cause slothfulness.
Okay, fear and doubt causes slothfulness.
Officer Araya, officer of 20. I'm going to say a lack of realization of the vision. The vision not being there.
You trying to get inside my mind. I see how you're doing. Say that again. A lack of what? Realization. Now, all three of y'all was correct. The lack of realization.
Of the vision.
Of the vision. The lack of realization. Realization of the vision. Okay. I want to dwell on that one. all what y'all said is correct. Definitely sin is definitely a reason. Loss of, what did you say? Loss of the vision itself? No, who was that said that? No, fear and doubt. Yeah, you said fear and doubt. All of these are absolutely correct. Fear and doubt. And I can actually speak to all three of these. So I'm going to stop there, and then we'll pick up on the next question. Fear and doubt. Okay, so we're coming back to that. What are the reasons, I'm going to come on this side of the room. What are the reasons that one gives excuses for not sticking with the vision?
Shalom, Bishop. Officer Lemuel.
Officer Lemuel.
Officer Lemuel. Officer 20.
20, gotcha.
I would say lack of belief.
Lack of belief. Belief is what causes excuses. Okay. Okay. Someone else?
Officer Haziel, Officer 10.
Okay.
I would say fear of exposure.
Fear of exposure. Break that down. What do you mean fear of exposure?
Meaning they give an excuse because they don't want to get exposed that they're not on with the mission. They don't want to get exposed that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
They don't want to be exposed because so this type of person would be, let's say, in the body, and they'll go along with it, but in reality they make excuse to not. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So now before I answer my next two, let me dwell on those two, on the ones that we talked about before. Sin definitely brings on slothfulness because sin is the entertainment of breaking God's laws, right? And that could be because of lust, that could be because of temptations, different things like that. And because of your appetite towards sin would detract you away from putting your brick into the mission. So that makes sense. The other one was fear and doubt. Fear and doubt goes along with that other one about being exposed. So I could put those two together. Being exposed because when you're in doubt, you don't really have a clear understanding of the mission, which goes back to what my brother over here said. You don't really understand the mission. Now, with all of that being said, I'm going to jump to the gun as to the reason why I'm asking these questions. Whenever there's a level of people that have doubt or that have fear or that have or make excuses to come away from the mission, that is because of the leaders, okay? It's the leader's job to paint the picture for the people in the body. Now, I'm going to dwell on that a little heavier. Okay, I'm going to read two questions, and then I'll just expound on them. So in addition to what we just pointed out there, I've asked the question of what causes the appeal of the world to become more enticing more than the vision of what that person said they believe in. So that's another question. Everybody's with me? Then another question behind that is, how does the lust of the world intercept your seeking the kingdom? So there's a lot of things that can intercept one's tenacity to stay in or on the path. And that's where slothfulness comes in. That's where laziness comes in, as they would say. That's where people start to not really put their full brick in. Everybody's with me so far? Yes, sir. So this, again, points back to leaders. To leaders. The leader's job is to, like I said before, is to guide the people. Similar to what a shepherd does with sheep. This is what we were talking about earlier. Sheep would be wanting to go into dangerous areas and not know it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Sheep doesn't want to get its head cut off. Sheep doesn't want to become food for the wolf. They don't want to do that, but they don't know better. The reason why people need leaders is because the leaders see the danger. that the people don't see. But if the sheep or the people, I don't want to use the word sheep because people, there's a negative connotation that comes with it. They say, what are you trying to say? I'm the sheep. I'm dumb as hell. No, I'm not saying that at all. My point is that when you're talking about, if you even think of the term leaders itself, leaders lead people. If you even call like what they call black leaders in the community, that means the people need to be led. You dig it? If they need to be led, there's a reason for why the people need to be led. Why? Because there's a dangerous course out there for the people. If there's no danger for the people, then there's no need for the leaders. The leaders are put in place to guide the people so that they don't get destroyed, to lead them into a better situation as opposed to not leading them and then they get torn up. We in the nation of Israel, we definitely need leaders, do we not? Look at all the craziness that we go through as a people. I mean, there's not a moment that I could turn on the television or the internet and find some craziness going on with either our people getting killed. There was a video that I wanted to show real quick. I'm going to give you an example.
Let me get, John 21. I think it's John 21, 16. Don't want to stop before that.
What you want? Hello? What you want, Cap?
John 21. Let's go to 15.
The book of John, chapter 21, verse 15. So when they had dined, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lamb.
Right, so he gets him here, and we're talking about the analogy of the shepherd, right? When it comes to us as leaders, and what Bishop's trying to empower you with is the understanding that even though there are excuses for slothfulness, excuses for way things transpire, as leaders, we have to figure out ways to help the men and the women, to the offices that they're in, to overcome those obstacles, right? We were talking about this in the room earlier. We can't just always automatically say, well, that's just a lazy brother, that's just a slothful brother, and write them off. As leaders, we have to figure out a way to overcome that obstacle. We got to get to the root cause understanding of why this brother is slothful. Because if we all can see the end vision and what's at stake and what we're striving for, then nobody really, right, in theory, should ever be slothful. But that's not the actual case, though, right? Because we all understand, right, to a point what's at stake, but yet slothfulness comes about. Excuses come about as to why things aren't getting done, right? So here he says, feed my lambs. And what's a lamb? A baby sheep, right? I'm gonna make a distinction. Go ahead, read on.
He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my sheep.
So now he changes it to sheep, right? So this goes into what I was saying in the room earlier. As leaders, what you wind up having to be conscious of always is, I think sometimes brothers get ranked, brothers get in office, brothers get a position, and as leaders, we tend to think that now they can just feed themselves, right? Feed my lambs, there's a dispensation of time here. That's you going out to camp. That's you doing flyer missions. People that don't know, they get the basic nourishment to start to build them up. I'll give you another analogy. How many of you have been in athletics and stuff like that? All right. The better you get and you condition yourself in whatever athletic that you were in, do you need more nutrients or less? More. More. To be elite, you need more. So the feeding doesn't stop with just you have to increase what's going there. So he says, feed my lambs. So you can look at that as somebody new or somebody coming in, the camp, the flyer missions. The next thing he says, feed my sheep. You would think that he's being redundant to be annoying, right? If you look at it carnally, but it's not. There's a point and an emphasis, right, through a similitude that Christ is hitting on here. Read the next verse. I'm going to give it right back to you, Bishop. I apologize.
Verse 17. He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said him. Peter was grieved because he said him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus said unto him, feed my sheep.
Right? So, just in the context of this, because when you read verse 18, it goes, he goes deeper. But I'm going to stop at 17. The point that I'm trying to get to you is that there's steps here that have to continue. There is breaking news tonight. We have to continue as shepherds to continue to guide and nourish the body as the leaders that we are. You can't just say, all right, well, he's a 20 now, so he should know better. He's a 50 now, he should know better, right? Yes, there's context to everything, but in the overarching theme of this slothfulness and excuses, us as leaders can't just write people off. We have to look at what's the root cause of this and what can we do to feed and guide these sheep. Because like Bishop was saying, they don't know that the wolf is out there. They don't know. It's not like they necessarily want to seek to that. So there's different levels of nourishment that we got to give them. As brother spirits get nurtured, as sister spirits get nurtured, we need to nurture them more, not less. We need to figure out ways more to help bring that vision, to continue to bring that vision to life. Right? And I don't want to take too much away from you, Bishop. We were talking about counter-programming. Because in Babylon, you're constantly being inundated with programming. So there's a pull. There's two forces at play against each other. And that's that Galatians 5:17, the spirit and the flesh. They're contrary one to another. And that is a constant thing until the grave. We're going to have that until Christ return and change us. And we don't even have the ability or the thought to have that type of battle anymore. So the nourishment needs to be there for the battle. It is a daily thing, an ongoing thing. And we as leaders have to continue to understand that the feeding is a constant thing. And it's more, like my last point, than just, let me give you these scriptures, let me give you this. We need to get direct and figure out per individual what's going on and what, like we said, like what prescription they need, right? I said in the room, you don't just say, okay, oh, I'm slothful because I'm not focused on the mission. Here's Tylenol. I'm slothful because of fear and doubt. Here's Tylenol. I'm slothful because of lack of realization of the vision. Here's Tylenol. There's not a cookie cutter answer for all of this. So you got to get to the root of it with the brothers to help them overcome that, to continue to push forth for the mission. Go ahead, Bishop.
All praise to the Most High. So, like we're pointing out, it's more than just us being leaders, and all of you are leaders. All of you are leaders. That's the reason why I was making a point that when the Most High sought for you to be born, he put a purpose in you. Like he said to Jeremiah, give me that. I'm going to go through a couple of things to show the importance of you. Jeremiah 1:5.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee.
This is what we have to, as leaders, we need to instill that in the people who we tend to lead, because we were led. Now it's our job to lead you, and then after that, it's going to be your job to lead the people. You'll understand, this continues. This continues. In the kingdom, we all should be priests. Kingdoms of priests, right. We in the kingdom, so we all are trying to get there. So if I just happen to get it today, you'll get it tomorrow. And the next brother will get it the next day. Same thing with the sisters. So this truth continues. Y'all understand? So none of us are just here. This is not an accident that you're here. Read.
And before thou camest forth out of the womb.
And before thou camest out of the, well, read the beginning of that.
And before thou.
No, read the whole verse again.
Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee.
So he said, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. Before I put you in your mother's womb. So that means you existed. So that means that there was a discussion in the heavens that said, I want you rather than him to be born at that time. That decision was made not because of no reason. It was made because of a reason. You got millions of sperm cells trying to get to that egg to produce one spirit. All them spirits are trying to be born, but the Most High said, I don't want these spirits. I don't want that one. I don't want this one. I want you. That's men and women. And when he allowed that one to be born, there was a purpose for why you was made to be born, why you was made to be conceived. So that's the reason why I say that the difference between when we are born to when we die, we have to be accountable for that.
I don't think that butter's still dripping on the brain, like you say. They don't realize what you just said with that.
Well,
Because I should have seen some oohs and ahs or something like that, what you just dropped when you say that. He's saying that in the chamber of souls, like the scripture speaks about, out of all the souls that was waiting to be regenerated, each and every one of us that's here right now for this time, God chose that for a purpose. He said, in this year, this brother's going to be born because I'm going to need him for this, that, and this throughout the course of this cycle. I'm going to need this one for that. It's no accident that we're here right now.
right.
And I don't mean here in IUIC per se, but that we were born for this time, that these souls were here for this time. That's how heavy that purpose is, that the creator of all things chose each and every one of us to be here at this exact time.
So in order for us to become, just so I don't lose a thought, I'm going to let you get in. So in order for us not to become slothful, we have to understand that. You only become slothful when you don't understand your purpose, when you don't understand the reason why you were called, when you don't understand the reason why you're here. That's when you become slothful. That's when people lose the vision. That's when people lose the faith because they don't understand the reason why they're here. And they begin to question their own existence. They begin to question their own lives and thinking like this is a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. And our people, and the reason why you're here particularly is so that you can be the lighted example to our people that are still on the outside. All right? Captain, you want to say something real quick? No? No.
One thing, it goes right with what you said.
Right.
I wasn't going to read it, but I want to read it back in John 21. Let's read 18. Because you said it. You said something, and it brings this whole thing out.
The book of John, chapter 21, verse 18.
So wait, now remember, he was talking about lamb and sheep. Remember that distinction. Now he clarifies in verse 18.
Verse 18. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girded thyself.
Right, so that's the lamb. That's why he started with lamb and he went to sheep. He said, when you were young, thou girdest thyself. Come on.
And walkest whither thou wouldest.
Meaning we had no direction. Before we heard this truth, we fed ourselves with whatever we could find, right? And he said, and you would walk whither thou wouldest. Come on.
But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hand, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not.
This is that discovery of that purpose. Another shall carry thee is dealing with the Spirit of Christ, the understanding coming into us. And he said, when you were young, right? And that manifests itself in leadership, but at the end of the day, it all goes with the Spirit of Christ, right? Because the Spirit of Christ is what moves everything that we do. And he said, you need to understand the purpose and what you need to be guided in. And someone else is going to help you, show you that at some point. You have to understand that thing.
Okay, so actually, as I'm going through this class, because I know it's a lot here that I haven't even really gotten into yet, but I want to leave enough seeds for y'all to continue to work on these things in my absence. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So give me Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17. But before I do that, play that video. Play that video.
There is breaking news tonight. New video of yet another police officer shooting an unarmed black man, this time in our community. This is Isaiah Brown. He is alive and in the hospital after a deputy shot him several times early Wednesday morning.
Pause it.
Happened in
Pause
Spotsylvania.
Pause it. Y'all look at this man, right? Back it up to the picture. Back it up to the picture. You'll see him? They said him. Does he look like a him? No. Wait till you hear the story. This is the reason why I say that, because some of us will look at this, some of us will laugh at it, some of us will make fun of it, those kinds of things. But these are part of the sheep that need to be led properly, and they need to see examples of righteousness. Because like what you brought out earlier, there's so much bombardment of the wrong ways for the people to go that there's nothing to really counteract them to show them the way they should go. There's television, there's videos, I don't need anything right now. Let me just get my mind on teaching. There's so much going on out there now that's pulling our people away from where they're supposed to be. Y'all understand? So this is one of the results of it. Now, let this thing play on. Watch this.
Early Wednesday morning. It happened in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. Tonight, the Spotsylvania County Sheriff released the body camera video and about 8 minutes of 911 audio. And we've got to tell you, we are still left with a lot of questions. You may be too after seeing it. And this also may not be for everybody. Adam Longo is here to walk us through what the video and the audio reveals. Ads?
So, Leslie, the video is dark. The officer is yelling about a gun. We know Isaiah Brown is the one who called 911. In fact, he's still on the phone when shots are fired. Because of that call, we are able to paint a little more of the background picture of the lead up to this. Now, many of you may find this traumatizing to hear and to watch, so please proceed with caution. We are not going to play audio or show the actual shooting. I am going to play a few clips edited together from the 911 call and then show you the officer's body camera footage in the immediate moments before the officer opened fire.
Isaiah, what's going on?
My brother won't let me get in my mom's room.
Okay, and why is that an emergency?
What you gotta do? Get in there.
Why is that an emergency?
Because I can't get to my car.
Your car was towed. What is the problem?
So
I'm
pause
about
it.
to kill my brother.
So you see what's going on. He's upset because his brother locked him out of his mother's room. The two of them are brothers. He don't want him to get inside his mother's room to obviously do what? Put on more feminine stuff. That's the catch that I'm getting from this. He got his head wrapped up like he's a woman and all of that. So he's got some serious issues going on. The brother in the family is basically saying, no, you don't need to do this. I'm locking you out so you can't continue to do this to yourself. And he's mad. So he called 911. He's so upset he called 911 because he wants to get inside that room so they can put on more whatever. That's what this appears to be. All right? Play on. Now back, I want to get these words now. I'm going to get these words. These words of what's happening. This is the 911 dispatcher. Right. Isaiah is his name, and he's calling 911, and the dispatcher is asking, what is the emergency? So Isaiah, she said, what's going on? He answers, my brother won't let me get into my mom's room. The 911 says, okay, and why is that an emergency? You see, I got a spat going on in my household. Why in the world am I going to call 911 in my own household because I simply can't get into a room? You see the stuff that's going on in our community? We have to go and deal with people like that. So this is no play game. So we have to be very clear about what our work is about. I didn't really play this to make fun of him or anything like that. I wanted to just to show some of the problems that we have to deal with, because you men are being trained as the doctors to work on these people when they come in here. When you're out there in the street teaching, we got to deal with spirits like this. So it's a serious business. So if you don't understand the clear purpose of why this is important, then you will be slothful. And you will begin to doubt, and everything else will come in. So, okay, that's enough of that video. That's enough of that video. The guy got shot. He lived, but he came outside, and the police told him we thought it was a gun, because they're saying on the video, he said he was going to kill his brother. In the video, he's telling the 911 dispatcher, he said, I'm going to kill my brother. And the dispatcher asked him, do you have a gun? And he says, mm-hmm. So why do you think the cops are coming? They're coming with guns because that's all they get on their recorders when they coming in, when they're being dispatched. But he actually comes out with a phone, and the officers think it's a gun. And it's dark, so you know how that turns out. But my point behind all of that is, give me Ezekiel 3:17.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, verse 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel.
A watchman is another word for leader. I'm talking about the importance of us being leaders. We have a job to do. We are charged. We were put on this earth. God put us in this room, put us in this congregation to learn how to be leaders, to stick to the vision, because that's our job. So the Lord said what? Son of man?
Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel.
Read.
Therefore, hear the words at my mouth.
So we have to teach the people the commandments, but we ourselves have to believe in these commandments. We ourselves have to believe in this vision. If we ourselves do not have a clean instinct in terms of the vision that and the program of teaching these commandments to wake our people up, if it's not clearly shown in us, how do we expect the people to follow? When they got television, that's powerful. When they have music, that's powerful. When they have TV and Vogue magazines and all this other madness that's out here, that's really pulling hard on them. And if we're halfway dealing with them, they're gone. The faith is going to be gone. They're not going to stay around. So it's just like Captain was saying, like I said, we talked about it. There's a constant pull. It's a constant stronghold to destroy the sheep. And this is the reason why I was using the analogy sheep earlier. Because our people, just like this brother, and just like many others, will get caught up into the wrong behavior, and it will lead to their death. Okay? But we have a purpose. God didn't put us here just to be ordinary. Okay? Read.
Therefore, hear the words at my mouth, and give them warning from me.
So the leaders are to give warning to the people, but the leaders themselves have to be clear-minded when it comes to being leaders. They have to be perfect examples of the vision, and so that the people can see it. Okay. My next scripture is going to be Hebrews 11. But I'm going to say something before I read it. As leaders, our job is to establish order and vision. That's what we have to do. We have to do that in here. We have to do that in all our congregations. Our job as leaders is to cause the people to understand the reading, to get the sense of what leadership is all about, so that they can understand what their job is. They have to get that, okay? So we have to establish order and vision. The only way this works is when you, as the leader, understand the benefits and the reward that comes when orders are followed and vision is understood. Y'all got that? When orders are followed and the vision is understood, then you can fight through your temptations towards the benefits and the reward of vision. Okay? We in leadership have a duty to lead the people. In order to lead the people, we must understand that the people are in need of leadership. We have to first understand that there is a need for the people to be led. That's what I was talking about earlier. If the people don't need to be led, then why are you talking about leadership? You dig it? If the people do not need to be led, in other words, they're okay, then you don't need to lead them. But if there's a field of danger, leaders have to be set up, especially if they know. They have to look out for those. Now, let's read on in that Ezekiel. Hold it, before we go to Hebrews. Go back to Ezekiel, let's finish reading that.
Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18.
Yes, come on.
When I say unto the wicked.
So as the leaders are trying to lead the people away from danger, they're wicked, but they don't know that they're wicked. They're wicked because they have been bombarded and sucked in by television and all these other things. That's causing them to think that their way of life is normal. But you as a leader, you know better. Go ahead.
When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die.
You have to let them know. Say, listen, brother, sister, you're going to die if you stay in there. Even though you think it's safe, it's not safe, because I have the ability to see what you can't see, because I'm the leader. Look at the term watchman. The watchman in the old days, in the biblical days, would be the man that would stand on the tower to look and see if the enemy is coming into the camp to destroy the people. That was his job. If he sees the danger coming, the people that's there in the community, they don't see it. But you as the watchman, as the leader, you see the danger. Your job is to prepare the people so that they don't get taken out by the enemy. Everybody's with me. Read that 18 again.
When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speaketh to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life.
That's the purpose of why we're called in as leaders. That's the reason why the Bible refers to you as saviors. Now it's starting to click. We're called saviors. That's what the book of Obadiah. Okay, and saviors shall come upon Mount Zion. That's plural. That's talking about you and me, all of us. That's why I didn't make it a singular thing with me per se, a bishop or the deacons. It's all of us. We are the ones that's been chosen by God to be here, to learn what it means to lead and to learn the purpose of why your leadership is important. So once you have that understanding, then you can go to your people and bring them home because they're lost, just like we were lost. Somebody had to be that example to us before we came in. I wasn't born in this truth. Somebody had to show me that I was getting ready to get my head cut off. Now that was brought on to me. Now I'm bringing it to you, and you bring it on down until that number is sealed and we get the hell out of here. Y'all understand? But it's important for us to understand what we're in, to understand the role of leadership. And once you understand that, you will not allow slothfulness. You won't even entertain it because you'll say, I can't mess around with this because this work is too serious. Okay? Read.
The same wicked man shall die in his iniquity.
Because he sinned. The wages of sin is death. The same wicked people shall die in their iniquity, but because we knew better, go ahead.
But his blood will I require at thy hand.
That's the job of the shepherd. If the shepherd is out there with his sheep, he sees the wolf coming. He doesn't say anything. He already sees the danger coming. He doesn't say anything, and the sheep get eaten up. Who's at fault? The shepherd. But what if the shepherd said, well, I don't really understand what this is about. I'm going to be slothful. I'm not going to really pay attention to this thing. I'm going to make excuses to just let them get eaten up. We're going to pay for that. You want to know why? Because God didn't put you here to allow that to happen. We're bought with a price. We're bought with a price. Your mere fact that like we was reading in Jeremiah, before I formed you in the belly, I named you to myself. That's purpose. I didn't just make you just to be. I gave purpose to your reason for being alive, because I could have put somebody else there. But I told the other spirits to not be fertilized, and I put you in there. And you're sitting in here. Can you dig it? You get the heaviness of where this is going, right? So it is our job to understand the importance of order and vision. All this is according to the Most High, okay? Like I said, we in leadership have a duty to lead the people. In order to lead the people, we must understand that the people are in need of leadership. They need to be led, because if they don't get that leadership, they're going to be destroyed. Give me 9 and 16 of, Isaiah for the leaders of this people. Give me that. The importance, again, of leadership.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 16.
Yes, sir.
For the leaders of this people cause them to err.
That's a leader that don't understand what the vision is, because if he's leading the people into destruction, that's not what God called him for. His job is to lead the people properly, not lead them in error. And the only way that a leader will call himself a leader and still lead the people off is a delusional leader. The Lord ain't dealing with that. Y'all all right? That it on that?
For the leaders of the people cause them to err,
Mm-hmm.
and they that are led of them are destroyed.
And they that are led of these leaders who are confused will end up destroying the flock. The Lord calls us the flock, right? Goes back to that point about the sheep. It wasn't a derogatory term. It's making a point that there's a shepherd and there's a people that the shepherd lead, which is us. We're the sheep. Y'all all right? Now, let me make the statement again. We in leadership have a duty to lead the people. In order to lead the people, we must understand that the people are in need of leadership. In other words, we must understand that the path that they need to be led into is not readily popular. That's going to that point that you was making earlier. It's not popular for the people to be led into this discipline, to be led into this order, to be led into the structuring. It's not easy. The people rather frolic The people rather play games. They rather play with Satan, with these different devices, television and the different things that our people do, because that seems pleasurable to them. Okay, like the book of Thessalonians saying, for they loved sin. Give me that. Let me make sure I read that right. 2 and 10. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 10.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteous in them that perish.
Read it. Read it again.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness.
And with all deceivableness of, or the deceit of sin, with all deceivableness of sin. Go ahead.
And them that perish.
So the sin was enticing to them. Go ahead.
Because they receive not the love of the truth.
They did not love disorder. They did not love the discipline, because the deceit of sin tempted them, and it drew them, and they went towards that. So this is what we're fighting against. Okay? Let's go back to where I was at. Well, is there more on that?
Yes, sir.
Read.
And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness and them that perish.
Come on.
Because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Go ahead.
And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusions, that they should believe a lie.
Well, I didn't want that part of it, but what is it? What's in 12?
Verse 12. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
They had pleasure. That's what I wanted. They had pleasure in sin. They had pleasure in evil. Now, that part that I didn't want to really expound on, the part, get the verse since it came out anyway. Let me explain it in case somebody's listening and say, well, why didn't he break that part down? Get the part about the delusion that the Most High did it to him.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11. And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusions.
This is what happens to people that play games with this truth. When people come into this truth and they don't take this truth seriously, and they take on a slothful spirit and make excuses, the Most High will give them their delusion, which means he's going to kill them, because he called you in here to do this work. But if that spirit don't want to get right, the Most High say, okay, I'm going to give you your poison, and you're going to be out of here. These are the things that keep us on the mark. So fear can be also used to keep you on the right track. Our job is to paint this vision, okay? So I'm going to make this statement again. We must understand that the path that our people need to go in is not readily popular, because what's readily popular is what's on television and the rest of these things. Meaning that there is another popular persuasion that has already set upon the minds of the people that needs to be redirected for their own benefit. We need to redirect their attention into what the Bible says. So we have to go to where they are and pull them out of that deception, because those popular persuasions are leading our people down a path of destruction. There's a lot of work we got to do. And this is where we as leaders come in. Okay? It is the job of the leader to paint the vision, bring color and vividness to the vision. Our job is to further inculcate vision and faith. We have to inculcate that. I'm going to explain what that inculcate thing mean if some of us don't understand that word. Give me Hebrews 11. Now I'm ready. Hebrews 11.
You want verse 1?
Yes, sir. Hebrews 11 and 1. That's all I want. That's the first verse.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for.
As our job, I'm going to take my time on this for a minute. Our job as leaders is to, like I said, our job is to inculcate faith and vision. Okay, let's look up the word inculcates before I go too far. Who doesn't know what that word means? Okay, let's look up the word. Inculcate. I-N-C-U-L-C-A-T-E, I think that's the spelling. This is what our job is. Are we able to put it up on the screen? Okay. Okay. This is what our job is. I can't see it. Okay, read it.
Make it bigger so we. Well, it's right here.
It's behind
big
us.
right here.
You can
Oh,
read
okay,
behind
I
us.
see. Oh, I'm looking at the Zoom. I don't need to see the whole Zoom. Just give me our screen. But I guess it'll mess up. That's okay. Read it. Read it. I don't want to
You got it out,
complicate things.
Arla, Cap.
Inculcate, instill by persistent instruction.
Did y'all hear that? Listen to what we're talking about. The job of a leader to offset the slothfulness, to offset the excuses, to offset the reasons why. The leader's job is to intercept that. The leader's job is to remove the slothfulness, is to remove the excuses, is to remove the doubt. Read it again.
Inculcate, instill an attitude, idea, or habit by persistent instruction.
That's what a leader does. That's what a shepherd does. The shepherd has to constantly take what's the staff that they use to keep the sheep from messing up? He has to constantly do it to keep them from going astray. Constantly do it. The minute he stops, the sheep going to wander off. The leader's job is to constantly inculcate or to instill order, structure, discipline, those things. Jump down where it says, yeah, right there.
What you want, the similitudes?
Where it says to teach. Yeah.
Teach someone an attitude, idea, or a habit by persistent instruction.
Oh, so it just repeated it. Thought there was a further definition, but that's good. But that's the point. So we have to inculcate, have to persist it. Have to persist it. Now let me go on. That's good enough. That's to persist in the teaching, to persist in it. Thank you. This is what leadership must do. And while at the same time, we have to reveal the detriment of following the former persuasion that the people were used to being led into. Okay? So we have to pull the people away from their current thoughts and bring them into what this is about. Give me 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 3. For though we walk in flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
So we live in this world. We live in this current world that is run by lusts and temptations. Read it again.
For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
We do not war. We do not war. We do not war. Notice it's using the word war, meaning it's a fight. So we're not fighting with the same tools that the people in the world fight with. Because the weapons of our warfare, read on.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
This is the reason why even though we walk in the flesh, but we don't war according to the flesh. The reason why is because we have our weapons are spiritual. For our weapons are not carnal. Read it. For the weapons.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Go ahead.
But mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds.
So we have to understand that these strongholds is what's causing the sheep to go astray. Go ahead.
Casting down imaginations.
So we have to cast down all of the imaginations that brings our people into slothfulness, that brings our people into excuses to not want to walk in the vision of the Most High. And we must replace that. We must replace that current imaginations with the new vision. So the main point is that every school, lean back off my notes a little bit. The main point of all of the schools is that each leader in the schools have to make sure that the vision that's set from the head of the school goes throughout all of the people. They have to see that vision. They have to take on that vision. They have to be made to understand that vision. I was talking with you about what you call it, lock-in. Can you expound on a little bit of that?
The lock-in. I stole it from Captain Arla. It's a process where we go over the history of the school. All newly promoted men, they have to stand up and read the document that you created, Bishop, in reference to the Officer 20, Officer 10 soldiers' responsibility to acknowledge to the brothers in the room that they know what their responsibilities are. And
Why is that important? Let's make it interactive again. Why is that important? Yeah. Why is it important to understand, like what you was expounding on? What is it that you brought in?
The history of the school.
Okay.
And also the responsibilities and roles of each officer and what different roles and responsibilities are tied to them. And they acknowledge it amongst the room of officers and soldiers in that room. They
How many of y'all participated in what he's talking about? How many of y'all know about what he's talking about? Do they do? Huh? So no one here has ever done that. Okay, Joe, yeah, you know about it.
Bishop, our first one was actually going to be this week before all that stuff happened.
Okay, okay.
Job's done one though. Job, they doing.
So
that in
let's
LA.
explain the importance of that, because that'll tie in with what I'm bringing out. What's the importance of that? Yes.
Shalom, Officer Matthias, Officer 10. The importance is so that the man who newly got promoted understands what it took for him to get to where he is now, and then to explain to the men that he's ready to take the next step and serve in that position for as long as he's there.
Okay. What else? Well, Job, you've been in it before, right? So, yeah, give it to him.
Officer Job, L.A. Shalom Leadership.
Yes, sir.
It shows that person that he knows the roles of accountability that he's going to be held to. So it's going to come right down to accountability.
Okay.
Being accountable for understanding your role and actually going forth and performing it, applying it, and doing it.
Okay. When y'all went to jobs, all right, have a seat. I'm going to jump back in now. When y'all went to certain jobs, right, and you had to go through orientation, what's the purpose of orientation? What is the purpose of orientation? Because that's what we're doing here. Again, leaders, we're orientating the people into this vision as opposed to the vision that they just came from. So I'm kind of giving it away, but I want to expound on it using orientation for an example.
Shalom, Bishop. Officer Michael Ezra, Sacramento, Officer 20. So the purpose of orientation pretty much to familiarize the people with how the company works.
The new recruits, right, the people that come in to familiarize them with what?
How the company works and the expectations.
Why would you need to do that?
In order
You said to acclimate them to how the company works, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the reason why that needs to be done?
If they
Why do they need to orientate? Just the word itself tell you what it's about. Why do they need to orientate the people?
If they don't know how the company works, they won't be able to fulfill the task to help the company work properly.
Okay, that's good. Let me say this, and then I'm gonna give it to the brother here. In orientation, I don't know if all orientations are. Well, I know they're not all the same. But if you work for a big company, they usually give you the whole history of the company from its beginning, the people that set it up, all that. Everything. You go to the plaque room and see these pictures of people that have been dead 50, 75 years and all that. They show you all of that. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? Huh? Why do they do that? Anybody that got their hand up? Yeah.
To show you what the company went through to get there, so you can be familiar with the hard work that it took to get there, and you can put forth that same effort.
Right. They want your effort. They have to. In other words, they're giving you the vision of the company, and they want you to be a part of it. You dig it? So that's what a leader does. The leader brings you in, and he has to orientate you away from where you used to be. That's the reason why I wanted to use the word orientation. He has to orientate you from the old world. Maybe you came from another company. Maybe you worked at a rival company. Because a lot of companies hire competitionally. They hire the person that, you just left this company or whatever, and they know you have a certain mentality that's related to that company. Well, we need to orientate you to this. And the leaders of that organization is going to make sure that you become a productive member of their establishment. That's what a leader does. So that's what we have to do. So there's many things that we do in the body. Now, we was talking about, come on, Captain, elaborate on some of this. So you trying to figure out where to come in? There was we were talking about, because I know I ain't going to get through all of this, so I'm just kind of going in different areas now. We were talking about when we first started out, it was just camps. We just go to camp. And which is great, excellent, because that's what this gospel is about. But you might be recruiting people who are electricians, carpenters, different teachers, doctors, things like this here. And I was going to play a video, but I didn't set it up, so I'm not going to play it. But I was watching a particular video where the host of the show asked him, he said, well, why didn't you join that organization? And he said, well, for all this strange training that I had, he said, I don't need to go do that. Because they had no use for me. That's how he answered him.
He said they had no use. The skill set.
Right. He said they don't. He said in that organization, what are they going to do with somebody like me? You dig it? The leaders in the organization has to be able to take doctors, lawyers, electricians, nurses, whatever they are, and create a field for them to work inside the body.
Right. We were saying that goes into purpose, right? So there's your purpose that you got to understand, like Bishop brought out with Ezekiel 3, right, to be watchmen and all that. But then each of us individually, the Most High has placed here with different skill sets. And as leaders, we have to have the responsibility to be able to make sure that they're placed in a position where they feel that they have a purpose for what their skill set is. And trust me, everything can be used, right? But I also say this sometimes, Bishop. If you're brand new and you're unproven, just wait on your ministry, all right? You can't get frustrated within that as well, because you'll have people that'll come up sometimes and they say, oh, man, but I got all these ideas and I got this and I got that. Oh, when you think that stuff is not noted, we just waiting to see how you roll and how you maneuver. Just like you trying to prove us, we proving you too. And then once we there as a leader, you got to point people, because people want to feel rewarded. We were making the distinction that if all you guys ever do is camp and flyer missions and you're not cultivating the other things that's there, then people kind of, that can create slothfulness and a lack of the vision as well. Going back to Bishop's class, the organized nation. And he says, you can't say all these things and then just say scriptures. We have to bring these things into fruition. We have to collectively come together and manifest them with the skill sets for the brothers and sisters that are here, for everything that we're trying to do to move forward.
Can I get one right quick? You got it,
Yeah.
Bishop? Okay, Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. In the conversations I have with Bishop often, one of the things he brings up is time for the Father's business, right? And making sure we utilizing our time properly. Us as leaders have to be completely disciplined so the brothers that's on our different teams have an example to follow. Read that scripture for me.
Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way? Walk therein.
So in order to have the old path, somebody got to create that path, like Bishop was saying initially. Where is the path at? You leaders have to be that. And just to be direct, right, when we're looking at something like security, right? What are you doing to create the path for the next group of security brothers that's going to come along? If you're the leader of security, if you in the video team, what are you doing to create the path for the next group of brothers to come along and have something to follow? If you're not setting a path, you're not setting goals, and you're not reaching none of those goals, then you're not being a good leader. And again, like we said in Revelations, we are to be kings and priests. What is a king and a priest? Somebody that can look through the Bible and visualize a purpose for the body. That's what you have to be able to do. Create a path and have a way for the brothers to follow behind you. And I'm done, sir.
Can I bring out a scripture? Let me get Sirach 33. Let's start at 25, and then we're going to jump.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33, verse 25. If thou set thy servants to labor.
We're all servants, right? We're servants for the Most High, right? We serve a higher power. So it says, if you set your servants to labor, come on.
Thou shalt find rest.
Why? Twofold I'm going to give you with that. One, that eternal rest, if we do the work that's needed, that eternal rest that we'll get when Christ returns to redeem us, right? And rest in your peace of mind. You know, I always say as a leader, you want to know everything that's going on, but you can't overly place yourself in that stuff if you want men to be able to come up. There's nuances to being a shepherd. He ain't always driving them from the back. He walking through the front because he's seeing the problems out front, and he lets them stray a little, right? I don't want to say stray, but he lets them wander a little, right? So that they could grow into their roles and everything, right? But he always directs them back into the fold, right? For what they need to do. It's an ebb and flow to this thing. Everybody's not always going to stay regimented. Remember that Galatians 5:17, there's a war going on. But as leaders, we must be alert and mindful of that. So he says, you're also going to find rest in your own spirit and mind, because now you're not worrying, all right, this guy's set to this task. This guy's set to this. And now I just need to check on this. I need to inspect my expectations now versus trying to build the hardest part is when we formulate these things. Like some of these things have taken a lot of time with the PDFs and everything that have been there years prior to some brothers who are helping us now. And what we realized was the vision was there, but maybe not necessarily the manpower. And as leaders, right, the Most High put the spirit on the senior leadership and then by extension to us to be able to see and identify brothers to put things into place. We're finally getting the reviews, right? Some of you have gotten your reviews for the first time and things like that. Give you more guided direction and focus, right, for your skill sets. What specifically do you need to work on? It took a long time to get the men in place to bring that up. So it says, go ahead, so you shall find rest. Read on.
But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty.
If you leave, and the liberty, the idleness is that slothfulness, is the excuses. As leaders, we can't let the brothers and sisters that are here go idle. That's part of being a shepherd. That's part of herding the flock. That goes to the point that I was saying. Yeah, sometimes they're going to wander a little, meaning there's a little space where they're going to operate within their office. But that don't mean we just let them go. I see that as an extreme with leadership sometimes. And you're not inspecting your expectations. And you're putting just confidence and trust in people, not realizing that you have to also follow up on certain things. Jump to verse 27.
Verse 27, send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teaches much evil.
And a lot of times we look at that idleness and we just think the carnal stuff, right? Like the pull of Babylon or whatever. But you can get idle too long and you go on autopilot with an office if the leadership is not there inspecting that office to continue to convey that vision, inculcate, like Bishop was bringing out, to inculcate. It says repetition in that. To change the behavior. So it says, if not, it'll teach much evil. Why? Because the pull of Babylon is going to come through. I'm almost done. Read on.
Set him to work as it is fit for him.
As is. So if he's an electrician, use his skill as an electrician. If he's good with numbers, let's see if we could put him in something where we have calculations or whatever. Not necessarily money, right? We have KPI. We have other statistics that we're looking at. It says, don't just set him to work. Set him to work that's fit for him. For his skill set, for his level in this truth, so on and so forth. Come on.
Set him to work as is fit for him. If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters.
Sometimes if a brother's too idle, it'd be, okay, oh, you got that on lock? You might not have enough to do. Let me give you another office to take care of, right? It's not so that it's a punishment, but it breeds discipline. Because now we're filling them with things and tasks to help bring the vision forth, right? Kingdom of heaven's within us, Christ said. We must be in pain and labor to bring forth. And that pain is indicative of not what you got going on in the world, but it's not always going to be easy to take that. It kills me sometimes when brothers can't take a responsibility because they say they got too much going on in their personal life. That's why it's us up to them and show them, hey, well, listen, that may be what the world tells you to do, but that means you're not prioritizing this, right? To be in pain and labor that brings forth means it's not always going to be easy to do what's required of us, as it says in Ezekiel 3. And there's a lot that falls under that. So it says, send him to work as is fit for him, and if he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. Meaning, sometimes a brother's ready for more responsibility, and that's going to bring him back to fill him with that purpose to move forward. You don't want to keep people on autopilot.
And if he be not obedient, put on more heavy feathers.
And if he be what?
If he be not obedient, put on more heavy feathers.
Who is this talking to? Who's that statement being said to? The leader. So that means the leader is looking out and watching over the flock and noticing that there's a certain level of slothfulness that's going on. So the job of that leader is to put on more. What is fetters? What does it mean when they say fetters? What is it talking about? Who don't know? Before anybody say they do know, who don't know what fetters are? Hands up high. Okay. It's important to understand what these fetters mean. Let's look it up. Because we'll be going through this and nobody's asking a question and then the whole verse go over your head. You need to know what these words mean so that you can understand what the job of a leader, which is you, what your job is.
Fetter, a strain of manacles used.
A strain of what? A what?
A chain or manacle.
Okay.
Used to restrain a prisoner.
Wow. Look at the word there. Nobody likes looking at words like that. These are like fetters, so you can understand it's like collars with chains and wrists, them locks that they did with us in slavery. That's what a fetter is like. Let's read out the Bible. Psalms 149, so you can know where the word, so you can get the understanding. Because if you didn't know what fetters were, how would you understand what Psalms is talking about?
Psalms chapter 149.
Like 7 or something. It's further down. Yeah. Is it verse 7? Wow.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Psalm chapter 149, verse 8. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron.
Why is the Most High said that we're going to do that to the nations? Give me Revelation 2 and, what is it, 27 to 28?
Revelation chapter 2, verse 26. And he that overcometh and keep my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
Go ahead.
And they shall rule them with a rod of iron.
That's the reason, because that's what we're going to do to the nations. We're going to rule them with a rod of iron. So that's how that's going to happen. They're going to have fetters of iron on them to make them, not, the iron here is talking about the sword. You dig it? That's the iron that's talking about there, that sword of correction. But the fetters of iron that you read in Psalms is literally going to bind them to make them do what we tell them to do. Okay? So that's the rough sense of it. But now read it back out what we was reading earlier.
Sirach chapter 33, verse
Again,
28.
showing you the importance of a leader. Go ahead.
Set him to work.
So hold it. The job of the leader is to set this flock, to set the people up to labor. Give them jobs in this truth so that they are not so easily persuaded. They have to, like I was saying earlier, you get people that come in and if they don't feel that they're being used, they're gonna go. They say there's no use for me here. There's no vision. There's nothing happening. I want it to be used. I want to use my talent for this truth. And if the leader don't know how to recognize where that talent is to employ them into this truth, they're gone. Y'all understand me? Read. Oh.
Set him.
Go ahead.
Set him to work as is fit for him. If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters.
Read it again.
Set him to work.
Set set the congregation to work. I don't want you to look at this in the negative connotation of Psalms 149. I want you to understand the importance of being a guide. Y'all understand? As being a leader, your job is to shepherd the people, to lead them because they need to be led. They don't know that they need to be led, but they need to be led.
So Bishop, when brothers make mistakes and fall out the truth, us as leaders should question ourselves as what we could have done better to put the fetters on the people, to make sure they're properly tasked.
That is one question, absolutely. That is one question. But again, everybody, some people, that's a good point, but that ain't always the case. Some people was put in here just to cause problems and leave.
Right. Oh.
So it's not always a situation that involves the leadership. I want y'all to understand it too. That's what we read.
Most High
Go
chose
ahead.
some, and their purpose was just here for that.
Right. He caused them to be born for that reason.
Just for that. Right. I want to make a point because when you brought out the definition of fetter, it says used to restrain a prisoner. Right. Understand that's still appropriate. Let me get Colossians 4 and 10, and then Philemon 1:23, because we're prisoners to Christ, like the Bible says. Paul would use this as a salutation on occasion. I'm giving you two examples here.
Colossians chapter 4,
verse 10.
Verse 10.
Aristarchus.
Aristarchus.
Go ahead.
Aristarchus.
Aristarchus. Say that.
Aristarchus. Yeah. Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, saluted you.
Right. So he calls him a fellow prisoner. So without context, you'll look at that and say, oh, well, they were locked up together. They did a bid together. That's his fellow prisoner. Go to Philemon 1:23. It's right before Hebrews. Because I know it's one little page probably for some of y'all. Philemon ain't one you go to often.
Philemon.
Go ahead.
Philemon chapter 1, verse 23. There saluted thee, Ephraim, my fellow prisoner in Christ Jesus.
We are prisoners to Christ Jesus. Because when you come into this thing, right? Remember, it says it's worse when you leave. We were talking about the 7 other demons coming into somebody, right? There ain't no escape once you bound yourself to Christ. So the fetters is appropriate. When I saw that definition, I said to restrain a prisoner. Some people might look at that and go, well, damn, that sounds a little harsh that we're speaking about brothers like that. But no, it's talking about fellow prisoners in Christ. And I just want to read a few more verses in Sirach to make the point that Bishop was making and that even Captain Zabin made just now. So go back to Sirach where we were in 33.
Sirach chapter 33.
And 29.
Verse 29. But be excessive.
Be not.
But be not excessive towards any. And without discretion, do nothing.
We're going into the leaders. This is addressing the leaders. It says don't be excessive, meaning some brothers, they want the preeminence. They want to lord over brothers. And so you'll burden a brother with tasks that maybe is not fit for him because you want him to fail. You want to set him. We got to look at the other side of that thing, right? Or use wisdom in how much you're giving him. It says don't be, a brother might have something. You have to understand the men that are in your charge. And there might be some things that you're putting on him, and there's a reason that he's failing in those offices that needs to be explored. Recently, I've dealt with a few issues with Bishop that we've had to deal with certain brothers. And some of y'all would be surprised. It wasn't like it was dealt with harshness or whatever. It was like, hey, we need to figure out what's our end result here. We want to fix the behavior. We want to fix the brother, not destroy him, but also make sure that we deal with what's there. And, I mean, those are steps now, and you graduate those things if you don't see the change. So there's a nuance to this leadership. It says, be not excessive, right? And without discretion, do nothing. Come on.
If thou have a servant.
Yes, sir.
Wait,
yes,
back
sir.
up. I want to expound on that little part there. Read the same part that you just.
Verse 30.
Yeah.
No, verse 29.
But be not excessive towards any, and without discretion, do nothing.
So what is the point exactly? Because Cap was given an example on some of the situations that has come up in the body, and we exercise a certain level of discretion, and to that. Give me an example of where this would come in at. Remember now, you the leader. I want you to think like leaders now. I really need to be down here longer than the little bit of time because I really need to spend some time. I just feel like, you know what I mean? Just like, but so I can get that vibe. Go ahead.
He
Yeah,
asked the question. So, give an example of a situation where you might need to use discretion and not be excessive as a leader. Go ahead.
Okay.
Shalom leadership, Officer Lemuel, Officer 20. I would say if you're counseling a marriage or something to that nature.
If you're counseling,
if you're doing marriage counseling for a
Okay.
couple or things of that nature,
Okay.
you want to be discreet. You want to be discreet. What is it? Discreet.
right, discreet. Mhm.
About the information that are given to you amongst the body, so that way you're not putting that out to everyone else.
Right. Say it again. Somebody said something. Right, but that's not exactly what we. Right. Read it again. Well, you got it. You figured it out. You figure where we're going. I like what you said. You know, in terms of dealing with married couples and all that. But that's a different type of discretion. What you got?
An example would be knowing you got to know the flock. So if you're dealing with somebody that coming from that gangbanging lifestyle, or they rebellious spirit, you want to be discreet when you're dealing with. You don't want to be over excessive because it's gonna be a fight.
Okay, when you say over excessive and discreet, how would you be able to do that?
So let's use let's say the brother's on security. Let's say the brother is a soldier, so he needs to be taking out the trash and this and that. You're gonna be straight with the brother. You're gonna, but let's say the brother is not good at taking correction, so you want to use wisdom in how you're dealing with the brother if he's already upset or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, let's get the definition of discretion. I think a lot of y'all there's how words have multiple applications. Let's look up the definition of discretion so you can see which one. Yeah, I think y'all he started off all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
No, hey, sometimes it needs to be.
But this is the reason why I said this dialogue is kind of needed.
So let's pull it up. Who's pulling it up? Discretion. Go up. I saw the first thing that looked good.
I want to bring it out in the context of the verse that we read.
Look at that. That's a good one.
The power.
On dictionary.com. Read that one. The power or right to decide or act according to one's own judgment.
The power of right to decide or act according to one's own judgment.
Well, expand. Actually, go to Webster. I know he was going to Webster. I like Webster. Usually gives real good ones. Let's see what Webster says. Okay, no, go down. I saw it. It's number 2. The quality of having or showing discernment or good judgment. All right? I think you use discreet and we think like certain issues like he brought out, like marriage and stuff like that.
Right.
But look, ability to make responsible decisions, right? The result of separating or distinguishing, all right? So it goes into discernment,
right?
Discretion, all right?
That's the point.
So maybe that'll help y'all answer the question a little better.
Now they got it. Almost forgot my question. Let's say my question was an example of how would a leader use.
Right. How would a leader use it as far as the fetters, putting on fetters, using discernment, right? So a couple good examples would be like a brother that maybe dealing with a whoremonger spirit. So I'm not going to task him with things that's dealing with sisters or put him in a situation where he may fail. A brother that might not have the aptitude to multitask and do different things at the same time. I'm not going to put too much on him. I'm going to give him one task at a time because I haven't seen him operate in that capacity until I can see him, you know what I mean?
Right.
And prove the situation before you just overly putting stuff on a brother, right?
Say that last part again. Unless you overly what?
Put too much on a brother.
Right. Read that because it was in the last part of what you read that said that. Read it. Read it.
But be not excessive towards any, and without discretion do nothing. So
be not excessive. Be not excessive. So like you said, a brother with I'm trying to pull it out without giving the crazy example.
I say it like this, Bishop. What happens in a lot of schools sometimes is that it's 5 or 6 brothers that's doing every dang thing.
We talked about, listen, I'm going to have to say it.
Okay.
We talked about what was it? The gang thing. Remember the gang mentality in terms of dealing
the mob
with
mentality.
the mob mentality
Mob
kind of
mentality.
thing. You gotta you get a situation where someone commits a sin, and read the verse again. I'm trying to line my thoughts up.
But be not excessive towards any, and without discretion.
The discretion is what you have to have when you're dealing with the different people's sins. You have to know how to apply the fetters. You have to know if you put too much on them, you might break them. If you don't put enough on them, then he'll go wild. So you have to use a certain level of discretion to know how to fix them.
Right.
Regardless of what situations they come in. Some of us are going to come in with, I hate to say it, bestiality. Some people are going to come in with that kind of stuff. A lot of people are going to be like, what the hell? And destroy the brother. But he's here to get help. Right. Some people are going to come in battling with all kinds of things. This is what leaders have to deal with. You dig what I'm saying? Brothers say, like, shit, I don't know. I ain't ready for it.
That's the levels of sin. That
brothers, some people, they're like, wait a minute now. I got my doubts and fear for real. I'm out. You know. But as a leader, you're going to have to deal with these problems.
Hey, that's the second
Brothers
part.
looking at me. Brothers looking at me. They're like, what are they?
This is real. This real stuff that comes across.
It's in the Bible.
And it's in the Bible.
Let's read it.
It's in the Bible.
Deuteronomy 18. These things, what's going to happen when these leaders, these shepherds deal? They got to deal with these issues.
Right.
So leadership ain't easy, but you were chosen to do this.
Leviticus chapter 18, verse 23. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast.
Read before that.
Verse
the verse
22.
before that. Then that one.
Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination.
So we know what that's talking about, right? Guess what? These people are going to come in here. We can't make fun of them per se. This is the mob thing we were talking about earlier. We get on a roll and we be like, look at it, and make fun of the brother or make fun of the sister. Understand, and that ain't my thing. That ain't our thing. But you still have to exercise a level of discernment because they came to you to get fixed.
Courage it took them to confess that to you.
That kind of stuff there. You got to look at that and say, well, listen, the Lord has called us because you would have never known it. He's trying to get fixed. She's trying to get fixed. And they're coming to you for the answers. You can't destroy them by being excessive, going back to that, what we were talking about earlier. It can't be excessive, and you can't be too soft. You got to have that balance to know how to win that soul to Christ. Hey, it was done already when Corinthians, what did we read in the Corinthians? It said, and such were some of you. That's what it meant. So what did it take to fix them? Get that. Get that.
You want reading?
No, get the one that I just asked for, Corinthians. I need it for a reason.
1 Corinthians 6 and 9.
Captain, I know you got something. I want y'all to keep on percolating.
Yes, sir.
1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God?
This is a leader talking to the people. He said, don't you know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? So again, that's that same practice that we were talking about in Ezekiel. If you don't warn the wicked of their ways, then they're deaf because of them continuing to be in that. They're going to die, but their blood is going to be required at the leader's hands. So you still have to deal with them. Y'all understand me? Y'all all right? Read.
Be not deceived, neither fornicators.
Don't be deceived. This is you again warning the sheep. To telling them, don't go wandering over there where the wolves going to get you, this and that and the other. You still trying to corral them in the safety net of the vision and the faith. Go ahead.
Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind.
You hear all this filth? Because that's what we're reading. This is all filth that we're reading. All of that what we just read. But that leader has to deal with all of them. Go ahead.
Nor thieves, nor covetousness, nor drunkard, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God.
So you list a whole list of sins and evils that will not make it into the kingdom of heaven. Right? That's what we just read, right? Read the next piece.
And such were some of you.
Why did he say, and such were some of you? Why is it past tense? Why is it past tense? Just yell out. I ain't waiting for the microphone. It's just that's breaking my concentration. I want to get rolling.
Because those people came into the congregation and the leaders had to deal with some of those spirits.
Right. The leader
and grow them in certain.
Right. The leader had to address all of them and change them and use discretion to change them. That's why I said, and such were some of you. Read the rest of it. Listen to how the discretion. Listen to the benefits of the discretion.
And such were some of you, but ye are washed.
But you are now washed because the leaders knew how to clean the people up. Didn't leave them as men abusers. Didn't leave them as extortionists. Didn't leave them as drunks. Fixed all of that. Go ahead.
But ye are sanctified.
But you are now cleansed. Go ahead.
But ye are justified.
But now you are justified where you can walk and you don't have to say, well, I used to do this. That's what it means when it says you're justified. Somebody try to throw your past at you afterwards. You said, no, that was before. That's done. I'm not dealing. I'm repentant. I'm good. I'm justified to be able to talk to you now. Because that's behind me. I've been cleaned up. How come they got cleaned up? Because the leader dealt with them properly. Go ahead.
But ye are justified in the name of the Lord Jesus.
But you are justified in the name of Christ, in the Lord Jesus the Christ. So y'all see that. So that's how important leadership is. We got to rescue people like this. We got to deal with people like that and clean them up. So how effective can we be to them if we ourselves don't even understand the mission and understand the importance of that pragmatic discipline? If we don't understand that adherence to order and structure, the vision and faith, if those things are not clearly laid out where the people have a clear understanding, like Nehemiah, what does that scripture say? Give them the sense. Yeah, give me that. This is what your job is. This is what our job is.
Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 8. So they read in the book and the law of God distinctly.
So when our brothers and sisters come in with these problems, come in with these issues, come in with these sins that's plaguing them, the same stuff that we just read in Corinthians, when they're plagued with that. Go ahead.
So they read in the book and the law of God distinctly and gave the sense.
And what did they do?
Gave the sense.
They gave the sense. You know what that means? This is what I was going to say earlier, but now I'm going to say it. It is not for us to fly through the scriptures. Precept here, go to that one, go to this one, go to that, and you ain't explaining nothing. You got to be able to take the verse and break it all the way down. Go into it. Pull out scenarios. Pull out examples. Let the people see the sense of why you're bringing out what you're bringing out. Y'all dig what I'm saying? Like what we did with Deuteronomy. I'll just use that as an easy one to understand. Like when we read about the slave ships, we go in and we bring the pictures up. We bring the signs, videos. We do all kinds of things to illuminate and to illustrate what that verse is saying or what the yokes of iron is saying. That's what we got to do to all those verses and all those laws. You have to be able, and that's where the discernment come in. You're able to reach into the very soul of the people and bring them out from what they were, to bring them out from the traps that they were into. That's what we have to do as leaders. This is not a small job, as you can see. But we are bought with a price to do this. So it is our job to learn it, to employ it, and make it happen.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone, 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.